Hey guys, welcome back. So now with us getting into Hulk vs. Thor, Banner of War, the Alpha issue, which is part 1 of 5, heading into this, I've read a lot of you guys' comments on the Hulk videos with Smashtronaut leading right into this, as well as our talks on the recent issues of Thor that head into this as well. And I get that a lot of you guys are kind of like, Hulk vs. Thor, here we go again. And understandably so, but for this one, aside from it being a 60-year anniversary for the both of these guys, with it celebrating the 60-year mark for Thor's Journey into Mystery issue 83, as well as the Incredible Hulk issue 1, with both issues releasing in 1962, and it makes this matchup more of a mashup of the celebration, as well as an update to how these guys measure up with both of their recent power updates. But with that being like the headliner of this event, throughout the course of this, I want to dig deeper into the motivations and the reasoning behind why these guys are fighting from a narrative perspective. So with that said, let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so what we pick up from this one is directly after the conclusion of Smashtronaut from Hulk issue 6, where we've seen Captain Bruce and the Starship Hulk re-enter the astro-dimensional between space, to where at this point he runs into Thor, who brings along his refurbished hammer that we had seen recently in Thor issue 750, with his hammer now having Odin inside of it since Odin couldn't go to Valhalla after his death. But there's a lot more going on here. And initially we get a bit of this rundown from the Watcher, who narrates the majority of this issue since the fight between Thor and the Hulk is taking them from the between space to a number of other locations, and the Watcher is one of the few people who can really follow that, and it's for that reason he's used in this Alpha issue to bring us up to speed for both Thor and the Hulk. And with how this is done, we're pretty much given a run through of Thor Volume 6, with Thor being new to the throne after the War of Realms, to where from there things for Thor just started popping off back to back, from everything with Galactus and the Black Winter, which had then led to Thor seeing the vision of how he was gonna die at the hand of Thanos, which is something that we've seen for Thor throughout Thor Volume 6, that is something that he thinks of quite frequently. But even up to this point now, he doesn't even know how this is supposed to unfold, from Thanos putting the stones in the hammer or even the return of Marvel Zombies. But recently this has been weighing heavy on Thor, especially with him mentioning in issue 750 about how the gods may die and come back, but eventually there comes a moment where that death doesn't just come and go, but it lingers, to the point of where one day, eventually it'll be something more permanent. And again for Thor, this is just one of many things he's been dealing with, because aside from that you have the return of Donald Blake, God of Hammers, the death of Odin, to where now Odin's trapped in his hammer, speaking to Thor, to where up to this point only Thor can hear him, but this has also placed a new issue on Thor's plate, with him needing to figure out what's going on recently with someone attacking Valhalla. But as we're told, this is where Banner of War crosses through with Thor's story, because after Thor issue 750, Thor had received the word from his ravens about where he can find the Hulk, who as we know the Avengers have been looking for, so that Banner can answer to the incident at El Paso. But with Thor getting this update, he kind of sees it more as a gift, because at this point he just wants something to hit. And in the case of Banner with the Starship Hulk situation, in his case the story is a bit more simple, though we do have a bit more to learn about the specifics, with Banner taking AIM tech along with the help of some unseen magical hand, which right there makes me wonder more about the Starship Hulk's connection to Wonder Gore. But for Banner, within his mindscape, he's locked the Hulk away within an engine room so that Captain Banner can not only just control the Hulk by adjusting the levels of this engine room, but really this was Banner trying to get the Hulk as far away from Earth, or really anyone that the Hulk could do harm, which as we've seen, it hasn't been going too well for the guy, because there's been a lot of harm done along the way. But with both their stories leading them up to this point, when their worlds collide, initially we're hit with the idea that Banner wants to get as far away from the world as possible, but Thor's trying to bring him right back. But we're shown rather quickly when Thor tries to reason with Banner and get him to get the Hulk under control, to where then Banner responds, telling Thor to shut up, and he punches Thor through the between space and into this world called Sakren, where we're shown in this case the next level of this conflict as this fight continues, which also in a way gives us the reasoning to why this fight continues. Because when they arrive here in this world, which the Watcher would describe as a wretched planet filled with disease-plagued, warmongering cannibals that devour the eyes of their young to appease their all-knowing pain god. It smells of cotton candy and puppy paws, and the pain god is always happy. And when I seen this, I was like, man, did Shudder buy Adventure Time? Like, did I miss something? Because I mean, if they did, I would definitely watch this cartoon for research purposes. But it then had me thinking like, man, like Donny Cates, he keeps throwing stuff out there that could potentially turn into its own thing. But with the two of these guys arriving here, it's here that we see again that on both ends, that they both have this internal conflict that's brewing, which for each of these guys is kind of new territory recently, because on Thor's end, you got Odin speaking to him through the hammer, telling him what he needs to do, and for Bruce, you got Betty, air quotes, who's talking to him and telling him how this isn't gonna pan out well. So when this happens and both of these guys respond out loud to the voices that's in their heads, and right away they kind of just pause and look at each other like, what, who are you talking to? And when neither one of them answer the other's question, they just go right back to fighting. But at this point, Thor calls for Sif to take the two of them somewhere else where they can actually fight and no one else can be harmed. Because Thor is not familiar with this area. He believes that these creatures or these people are harmless, and he doesn't want them to suffer as a casualty to this fight between him and the Hulk. But with what we know from the Watcher's narration, Thor and the Hulk probably should have stayed here and just beat each other with these guys. But it's here where Sif opens the Bifrost and she sends these guys to the Black Hand of God, which, like we had seen in Thor Volume 6, this location goes by many names, and different people of different languages will call it different things. But as soon as they arrive here before the Watcher and a countless number of others, the bout is announced as the Golden Avenger, the Thunder King, the Mighty Thor, versus Green Scar, the indestructible Immortal Hulk. And with how it's done, it's presented to us like a video game. But I gotta say, whoever it is that works at the Black Hand of God that updated this information this quick, as soon as these guys dropped in here, that guy needs a raise. Because the moment these guys touched down, these producers were just ready to go. And I mean, they might have gotten a heads up from the Watcher, because Uatu, he's just known for leaking information, so that could be a thing too. But from here with Thor just telling Banner 17, and initially with Banner hearing that, like 17, he doesn't know what Thor is talking about. But Thor tells him that it was 17 people who the Hulk had killed in El Paso, and it's for that reason that at this point, after Thor had attempted to reason with Banner, that at this point Thor believes that he has to end Banner because the Hulk has crossed the line for the last time. And with saying this, Thor, he had placed Mjolnir on Banner's back, which is more or less like putting a boot on the starship so Banner can't go nowhere. But Thor also lets Banner know that he's not going to celebrate in this glory, but instead Thor sees this as himself doing something that needed to be done. Like they both knew this moment would come. But from here, Banner sends up the engine room to level 8 and he equips himself with a full haptic suit, which, mind you, like keep in mind, like with the haptic suit, Banner is from here feeling everything. But because Banner knows that the Hulk has fought Thor and beaten Thor before, he switches to this method so that he can have the control, so that this time, instead of just fighting harder, he can fight smarter. And one of the first things that Banner does here, since the history of the Hulk fighting Thor are in the Hulk's memories, he just downloads all those memories from all those fights from every time the Hulk has fought Thor into himself so that he can use it against Thor. And as soon as he does this, with the Starship Hulk laying there with Mjolnir on its back and Thor just looking at him like, no, don't you dare. But Banner just gets up, letting the hammer tear straight through his back and out of his torso, which at this point, for everybody who's watching over at the Black Hand of God, like watching this happen, for many of them, this is the greatest push-up they've ever seen, live in living color. And when Banner does this, man, towering over Thor, he just tells Thor, pick up your hammer. And Thor just like, alright, kind of like, oh, this what we doing? And he calls for the hammer and it flies through the Hulk. And from there, the Hulk's like, where were we? But with the engine room being cranked up to 8, and Banner now running things via his haptic suit, and again, feeling all of this. But from here, he starts to wreck Thor, and it's pretty bad. But at this point, with Odin telling Thor through the hammer to get up, and Thor's like, I'm trying. And from there, Odin takes off like, fine, must I do everything? But when Odin takes off and comes back, breaking the sound barrier, he comes back down, totally wrecking this place, which from here gives Thor the upper hand. And it sends them both crashing right through the layers of this arena. But as they make their way down here, Odin tells Thor that when he struck Banner, he felt something. And Thor told Odin like, yes, I feel it too, like the Hulk is possessed. But Odin's like, no, it's not like he's possessed, but it's more like he's haunted. So when they reach the bottom, Thor tells Banner like, okay, if you won't listen to me, perhaps you'll reason with this. Perhaps you'll listen to this. As he lets the hammer fly right into Banner's face, to where then Banner calls for evasive maneuvers, almost as if at this point he's done with the whole haptic idea. But as the hammer hits Banner in the head, and he's knocked out of his haptic suit, it's here where we see Odin step into the mind of Banner through his display, telling Banner that he's gonna have a word with him. And really, with seeing this, I can't wait to find out where this goes, because I believe that though on the surface the whole Starship Hulk as well as the Hulk versus Thor idea have both been getting some mixed feedback lately, but to me I believe that it's things like this that just set up the even crazier moments. Because with us knowing that the Starship Hulk is a mixture of technology and magic, like just imagine what the conversation between Odin and Banner could potentially go. And to me, that's the more exciting thing about this series so far. Because aside from the huge headliner of Hulk versus Thor, there's yet so much more that we've got to dive into as far as what's going on here. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.